Hi there, have you ever taken a photo or video, but don't understand why it's too dark or too light? Well, that means you want to know what exposure triangle is. So exposure triangle are three settings on our camera that will help us get a correct exposure. We have ISO or camera sensitivity, shutter speed, and also aperture. These settings will help us get the right exposure. So, let's talk about these three settings and what attributes they add. What is shutter speed? Shutter speed means how fast the shutter opens and closes to let light into our camera. So when our shutter is very low, more light enters, and when it is very high, less light enters. The attributes that come along with shutter speed is, if our shutter is low and anything happens to be moving on our photo, we get motion blur. But if our shutter speed is very high, then we get no motion blur at all. Next up we have our aperture. When it is wide open, more light enters. When closed down, less light enters. The attribute that goes along with this is when it wides open, we get a blurry background or depth of field, and when our aperture is high, then everything is in focus. And the last is ISO. ISO is basically our camera's sensitivity to the light. The lower the ISO is, the less light enters, and vice versa. The attribute that goes along with ISO is grain. So when it's low, our image are more clean and less noise. But when it's high, we gonna get grainy and dusty image like this. And that's all. I hope we learned something about what exposure triangle is, and see you next time.